In this week's vlog, I am going to share clips of me doing a talk read talk write process as well as a collaborative poster. So if you're interested in those strategies, you can check out the description section down below. I've listed the days of the week with a timestamp with also an outline of what we did each day of the week. So that way, if you don't want to hear me talk, you can check out the timestamps to be taken directly to that point in the video. Additionally, I'm going to share my flexible seating progress and how that is going. Also, my frustration with some students as they waited to the end of the 6 weeks grading period to see me about their failing grade. And then also how I incentivize my hall ticket strategy for this school year. So it is a satellite.
Oh, yeah, I told you it was
It's a satellite, it's not a jellyfish.
Yes, look.
There. So you hear the clouds. There's the planet.
Isn't that a capsule?
It looks like a capsule turned into
Capsule satellite. Same thing. Share with the people at your table, but be prepared to share because I am going to popsicle stick you. So I'm going to ask if you get called for you to share what your table talked about. So you want to make sure that you collect the thoughts from everybody. Yes, go ahead and write on this, write your name, and then if you don't have highlighters, let me know because I've been taking highlighters out of boxes. And so if you need highlighters, let me know. So the way this works, let me cut this off full quick so that way you can see it. There's a pay attention to list. So these are two things that I want you to pay attention to as you are reading. So the first one says, as you read, think about how the article is relevant to topics that we've been studying in class. So we talked about several things: dimensional analysis, units, scientific notation, significant figures. I think I'm forgetting something. Then the next one is, how are the units used in the USA similar to or different from units used in other countries? And then the last thing I want you to kind of pay attention to as you're reading or keep it in the back of your mind is, how could this event have been avoided? Highlighting plus, so this is why we're taking out the highlighters, is you need to highlight at least 3 idea statements from the article, but you will need to explain why you selected those. You can highlight more if you like, but I'm only asking for at least 3 ideas or statements from the article, but you need to explain why. So you can do it off in as well. You can do it in the back, or if you can write in the space on the front piece of paper, that's fine as well. So I'm going to give about 10 minutes, although it should not take that long, but I'll put 10 minutes on the clock. If you finish reading, then the expectation is just to kind of sit quietly, so that way those readings still have an opportunity to read in silence. Other than that, you can always look back up here if you need more assistance. Okay. Would anybody, before I pop this, would anybody like to volunteer to share what? So I see 2 hands. Anything else? Did you all talk about what it might feel like being inside? Yeah, it would be very. Okay, so do me a favor, grab that highlighter out of your box. You all have index cards at your tables. I believe so, unless I didn't pay attention and put them there. But you have index cards. What you're going to do, we are going to continue part of this activity next time we meet. But I want you to take a minute to write down your thoughts. There's a picture up there. And I want you to think about what this picture makes you think about. Or imagine if you were in this picture, how would you feel and why? You're prepared, be prepared to share. I'm going to give you 1 minute to just jot your thoughts down on your index card. We talked first. I showed you a picture that is connected to what you're about to read. So you're going to do the read part now, and then we'll do another talk, and then the writing part we're not going to do today. We are going to carry it to the next class period prior to taking your test. So it says, as you read, these are some pay attention to lists. So you can, I'm going to leave this up here. You can refer back to it as you're reading. But as you read, I want you to think about how the article is relevant to what we've been studying so far in class. So we talked about dimensional analysis, converting units, accuracy, precision, sense of limitation, figures. Am I forgetting something? So how is the article that you're reading relevant to the topics that we've been talking about and learning about so far? The next one is, how are the units just used in the USA similar to or different from the units used in other countries? And then the last pay attention to is, how could this event have been avoided? So I showed you a picture. Maybe it's been a little bit exaggerated, but how could the event that you're reading about have been avoided? There are highlighters in your box. So one of the things that you have to do is you need to highlight at least 3 ideas or statements. If you want to highlight more, you can do so. Other people did that, that's fine. However, anything that you highlight, you must explain why you selected that. Okay, so I'll say that one more time. You must highlight 3 ideas or statements from the article, and you have to explain why you selected that. So you can do it on the front page, or you can flip the paper over and you can explain on the back. Okay? I'm going to give you 10 minutes, and I'll adjust if needed. However, when you finish reading, please just remain quiet, because we want to respect everybody else that is still reading and trying to take notes. So I will let you know when time is up.
No, after this, that's all it is.
Okay, if you were not here on Monday, I will get you a copy of the article. Yes. However, let me explain what we are going to do today. We talked first, then you read about the NASA mishap, which you need the article, and then you talked about what you read. And then we talked about it a little bit as a class. So now you're going to work together to do a collaborative poster. So let me explain, since we have not done a collaborative poster this year, what that entails.
I think we're here.
We should draw something behind us. It's a flex freeze, because I think last Monday I told you that the groups that you were in, you needed to be in them today, because you're doing what is called a collaborative poster. So what I need for you to do, which many of you have already started doing, is pull out that NASA mishap article that we read on Monday. If you are not here on Monday, I will get you an article. On Monday, we did a talk where you talked. So you talked about the picture that I had up there, then you read, then you talked about the reading. And now you're going to do as a collaborative poster. So what you're going to do right now is open up your boxes. Each person needs to grab a different colored marker. Okay, so let's refocus. And we're excited at the end of the day. So, I'll wait. Ryan is going to give each group a piece of chart paper. What you need to do is write your names on back of the poster with the color marker that you selected. Everybody has to have a different color marker. The next list is, you may not switch with another person at any point during the activity. Okay, so I'll say that one more time. You cannot switch colors with any person at any point during the activity. Also, you may only use the marker selected. So for example, if you're coloring something, and I'm just going to use water as an example, you're like, we don't have a blue, so let me grab a blue out of the box and color water. No. Color whatever colors you have. We're not trying to be perfect. Let's put on that back. We're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to work collaboratively with one another as a group to get this task done. Also, you cannot use pencils or pens to sketch, and that's also on a separate piece of paper. So you can't take out notebook paper and try to sketch for, hey, let's do our code and try to figure that out first and then try to transfer it. No. Everything goes on the poster paper. You mess up, you mess up. People got creative if they messed up. Okay? So if I catch you like using a pencil, I'm going to make you erase it. And then everybody's work has to be their own work. So you can't trade because someone draws better than you. I don't mind. I'm not an artist, so I don't expect you to be an artist. Okay. So if there are no questions, I'll come around with that sheet of paper. But right now you can refer to this. This is the minimum. Oh, I forgot to explain. Examples. So this poster is from 12 years ago. 3 students did this one. 12, yeah.
How old were the students who made that?
They're your age. Okay, so this is a great example of what you should do. There are 3 people who did this poster. There are 3 colors on there. That's how I will know who did what, because you will write your names on the back of your poster with a different marker. So I will be looking for that. Also, this is a great example because they use the entire poster. This is a poor example because look at all this white space. It's just, yeah. So this is not an example that you should follow. So you need to use the entire poster paper. And again, I'm only giving you the minimum. If you want to get up and look at it, you can, but your 40 minutes starts as soon as I set up my phone.
Oh yeah.
Today what we did was a collaborative poster, which was an extension of the Talk Read Talk Write. Although we didn't do the write, we did the collaborative poster. They'll do a write later, but since it was the first time that I was implementing the process, I wanted them to become familiar with what Talk Read Talk was and what the expectations were. Then I also wanted to do a collaborative poster. Mainly I did that because I had to push my test back because they filmed my second period class today. That went well. Second period they were really into it, but it was okay. It was a good thing when they recorded. Really, they wanted to come in and they wanted to see teacher redirecting students and students off task and things like that. So there was several instances of that, I won't lie, but the students turned out really great projects, or collaborative posters I should say. I was really pleased with it considering it was the first time that we did it this school year, and all my classes today did it. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. And then actually, no, tomorrow they will be taking their test. My B-Day classes will be taking their test, and then my A-Day classes will be taking them on Friday. So that's the end of the week. Let me recap the week. Flexible seating is going well. I'm trying to have a growth mindset. I think that's the term, growth mindset, instead of a closed mindset with that. Because normally with the seating arrangement, I have always controlled that. I controlled that at the beginning of the school year, I controlled it last school year, and then 7 years ago when I was in the classroom and the years prior to that, I was always the person, you're gonna sit here, 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 and here. Can I move? No, that's your assigned seat. And so with flexible seating, it's the process of allowing students to choose where they learn best, so that they can be successful in class. And it's not really about the furniture, because I don't have that right now. It's just my regular student tables. So I just have to get over the chaos, and it's like a positive chaos. Like the students talking, they're interacting with one another, they're more animated than they were when I had them in assigned seats. Some of the classes were animated and they were very energetic anyway, but now like they're energetic squared times 100. And so I just have to realize that as long as they're engaged in the content and the activities that I'm doing, and they're having academic conversations around that, and I can see that they understand. So when I come up and I ask them questions and they can verbally explain it to me, or they can write it and demonstrate it in various ways, then I'm okay. The minute like they can't explain something, they don't know what we're doing, they're lost, they're like bombing quizzes and exams, then that's going to be an issue. And at that point I will reevaluate, maybe for a particular student, a few students, or the entire class, the flexible seating options for my classroom. But right now, just I'm trying to get used to not having that control and seeing students sitting in different places every single class period. And that's why I told them on day one, when I said, okay, you can sit, I had it up on the board, you can sit anywhere you want. Then the next class period I said, you can still sit anywhere you want, however, you have to sit at a different table from where you sat the last time. And then I did that the next class, because I wanted them to get the idea of like, you don't own a space in flexible seating, especially when we get the furniture in. Like you cannot, like this is not your assigned seat, like it's open to anybody. You can't claim a space, and you cannot save a space. It's on a first come, first served basis. So I want them to get used to that idea. And some students have been coming early that were coming, towards the end of the passing period. I've noticed that some of the students have come a little bit earlier because they want to pick their seat. So that's also a definite plus as well. Students are getting here earlier because they want a seat. And I think once the furniture arrives, then they might even get here a little bit sooner. And then just the students, working together. Just one of the things that I've noticed is I guess if it's a con, is when I try to gain the attention of the class and focus them back because I need to transition to something or I need to give them some directions. There have been some cases where I've had to wait longer than I did normally when I had them in assigned seats. But a couple seconds, you know, at the end of the day, as long as my students are working hard and I'm doing what it is that I need to do, it's not that big of a deal. I think I just, in my mind, need to sort of, I know that song, Let It Go from Frozen, just let it go. You know, just let it go. And a good example was that they came and filmed my class on Wednesday and my second period, and that's, you know, one of my good classes. All my classes are great actually, but that's one of my more energetic classes. And so it was like really chaotic, and they wanted to see examples of student misbehaving and students off task and teacher redirect. So there are some things that I noticed that were going on, and I let it go on because they wanted clips of that. But I also sort of feeling a little bit overwhelmed because it was like, oh my God, it's really loud and kids are all over the place. But when I was looking at their products and I was coming over and I was asking them questions like, you know, why that quote, or why did you all decide to put this, incorporate this illustration onto your poster? They were able to explain, and I got some really great collaborative posters. So again, at the end of the day, if it is benefiting students and students are churning out great work products and they're engaged and they're learning and they can communicate that clearly, then I'm okay with it. I just need to get over my own personal barriers with that whole process. So right now, flexible seating is going well. No big complaints about that. So one of the region service centers, they came and they recorded a couple of teachers. There was like 5 or 6 of us. A couple on Tuesday and then a couple on Wednesday, and they shot my class on Wednesday. And it's funny because we're like, we want to, you know, even if your kids are good, like, you know, we want to see some redirection and kids off task. And they definitely saw that because they were doing the collaborative poster for the first time, and then flexible seating. So there were certain tables that were composed of students that were all friends and they were a little bit chatty, but I allowed some behaviors to go on because that's what they wanted to see. They also wanted to see some redirection. But some of it was funny because and I think in some of my earlier vlogs, you may have seen a student ask to go to the bathroom. So I just do this, the hall ticket strategy. And if you're not familiar with that strategy, I'll put the link down below. However, a student had asked to go to the bathroom and she had shown her book, but I guess they didn't catch it because there was a camera in the back, and then there were 2 people who were switching a camera. They were switching or handing the camera off, and they were like moving around the room, getting students, zooming in on work, or they were following me around the room. And I guess they missed the part where the student asked to go to the bathroom, and then I signed off on the hall ticket. So they asked the student, hey, could you ask Mr. Elias again? And then they asked me like, hey, could you, fake, she's gonna ask to go to the bathroom, could you fake sign? So it's funny because like all the students were like looking at her, and she looked a little bit like weirded out. So she sat there and she raised her hand. Can I go to the bathroom? And I'm like, and she gives me her little thing, and I go over there and like in front of the camera, like I fake sign it and I give it to her. So if you happen to be in Region 13 and you see that video, just know that not everything was, beyond that part was staged. There were some moments in my class that were real, and then some moments in my class where I let things go on a lot longer than they should because they wanted to see examples of that, or me redirecting students. I did have to redirect a group. There was a group of students that I made stay after class, and they shot that piece, and I just kind of had to let them know because they generally, especially 2 of the students at that group, are generally pretty well behaved, and then that day they just uncharacteristically were doing things that just were not like them. And I'm like, guys, like what is going on? Why we having this conversation, right? If I have to have this conversation again, or if you guys can't contain yourself in class, then I'm gonna call home. So again, if you just happen to be one of those people who sees that video and you follow my vlog, just know just know that part was not, because I don't know if I'll ever see it, so just to let you know. But even though that part was staged, usually you'll see from, if you follow my vlog throughout the year, you'll at one point see a student ask to go to the bathroom, and I will just do that little thing and I'll sign off on the ticket. And that hall ticket strategy just works amazing. Most of my students have their hall tickets, and I rarely have students ever leave my class because as soon as I do this, they will either sacrifice one or they won't sacrifice one at all. And I think I've only had 3 students out of 150 students utilize all their hall tickets by the end of this week, and next week is the last week of the grading period. Oh, so one of the things I forgot to mention is that I incentivize my hall tickets. So normally my students get 3 hall tickets, and I've done it for several years. I shared the hall ticket strategy here on my channel. And one of the things that I'm going to do this year, I didn't implement it the first 6 weeks, but starting the second 6 weeks, is give out extra hall tickets based on like good classroom citizenship. So if students, like because a lot of times I have, and I don't have my popsicle sticks, I can't show you because names are on here. I probably showed you a name, oh well. But let me show you, because I have popsicle sticks, and I have them in this one so you can't see the names. But a lot of times I'll ask, hey, would anybody like to volunteer to share out what they and their partner shared, or an answer that they got? So I want students to volunteer freely without me having to call on them. I still am going to use popsicle sticks because I want to make sure that I'm actively calling on all my students and being equitable in the classroom. But I want to reward students that volunteer, that sometimes I purposely make mistakes because I want to see if they're paying attention, if they understand. So if they call me out, whether I make a mistake on purpose or because I am going too fast and I'm not really focused on sometimes, or I'm not paying attention to my own work. So if they catch me, then here's thank you for paying attention. One of the other things that I noticed is that some of my students, what I did, they were understanding some of the topics. So I was like, okay, could you go around and I want you to help. Like I want you to be like an in-class tutor because some of your peers are struggling. I don't want you to give them the answer, and I don't want to hear you giving them the answer. I want to hear you explaining the process to them. So I noticed that they were doing it. So anytime I had asked students to do that, I would leave some school dollars on their table. We do PBIS here. We call them Valhalla dollars. So PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention Support Systems. I should know what that acronym is. Minus 2 points for me. Anyways, it's part of our positive behavior support system here at school, and students can use the school money to go to the school store to purchase things, and they can also enter into a raffle and win things, and teachers can also win things in a raffle as well, because we're supposed to write our names on the dollar. So as students were going around helping, I would leave some Valhalla dollars on their tables as, you know, thank you, and they earn more Valhalla dollars if they were going around and being an in-tutor versus like if I gave them just one Valhalla dollar for correcting me for making a mistake. So one of the things I think I am going to do is with the hall tickets, if they're supporting their classmates, because some of them, they got up on their own, you know, after the first time, and they started helping students without me asking them for help. Like I didn't go over and say, hey, could you go help? They just got up, they went across the room, and I saw them helping. And that just, like, some teachers I know that might bug them, but for me, like, we're all learning together. I want to make sure that all my students pass this class, even if they like barely pass my class, then we're all in this together, and I'm trying to get them to a mastery level, you know, with some of the topics and hopefully all the topics. So we're all, you know, I need help teaching the material. Perhaps somebody can explain it better than I can. So I've noticed some of the students just get up and go across the room and explain it to their peers. So I want to reward that through a hall ticket, through a Valhalla dollar, through whatever means I can. That's not inflating their grade, but whatever means I can to let them know that, hey, you know, thank you for helping out your peers. So that's what I'm going to try the second 6 weeks. I know I talked a little bit more than I wanted to talk concerning the hall tickets, but that seems to be working. Also for students, if they don't have their phones out, then that's also something that I want to reward. Also, if they keep their interactive notebook in order, because there are some students, most students have kept them in order, but then there are some students that, like, they have things like taped or glued on pages that I haven't even talked about yet, and I'm like, have you not been paying attention to what we've been taping in and laying? Or like, they literally had, like, this one is like 4 layers, and they had each of these pages on a separate page, and I'm like, when did I ever do that? Like, I do it on the document camera. When did you ever see me tape a single page on 3 different pages? So I think I want to reward for things, just overall classroom behaviors like that, in order to have a more smooth, well-run classroom. And I know, yes, I have a lot of pre-AP classes. I did a little bit of Valhalla dollars last year. Some of my students responded, but even some students that I had in my on-level biology classes last year that are in my advisory classes, like, how come you didn't do that with us last year? I want a Valhalla dollar. So I know it works for those types of students as well. You just have to be consistent doing it. And I wasn't consistent last year doing the Valhalla dollar system with my on-level classes, mainly because I just returned back to the classroom and I was like a new teacher all over again. So that definitely wasn't going to happen when I was trying to do and juggle a whole bunch of other things. One of the things that I did last night was I had put together, the second 6 weeks hasn't started yet, but I'm trying to be a little bit proactive because I came across an old file that looks, I don't know if you can see that, like that. And although I put this in my interactive notebook, I'm gonna change it because I'm still playing around with some stuff. However, I became a little bit frustrated by the end of the week because I had students coming in asking for makeup work, asking for extra credit, asking if they can turn in work from like the first week of the 6 week grading period, and the 6 weeks ends next week. I was very neutral when I had discussion with students, but like when they left and I was sitting here and it was late, I started reflecting on the amount of time that I've been here at campus. The past 2 weekends I had to come up to set up a lab, the lab practical. Before then I had to actually set up the lab for us to do in class. I've also had to dedicate time to reading all their interactive notebook entries and a whole bunch of just other stuff. And I've been staying late. And I realized that the past 2 weeks of school, I've been, I get here anywhere between 6:20 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And then I have been leaving in some cases after 7 o'clock in the evening. And so after like they left and I'm just sitting here and I was like relaxing, but also reflecting, I could feel my blood pressure going up because I'm thinking, how many times have I, told the students, and maybe I'm just not clear. And I was trying to have that reflection, like, I was venting to myself, but I was also trying to remain positive and problem solve at the same time because I didn't want to beat myself up. And I was thinking of what can I do to alleviate some of these problems, because I didn't have this issue 7 years ago when I was in the classroom before I left. I would have all my grades done by the 5th week, and the last week of the 6 week grading period, I started giving grades or collecting grades for the next 6 weeks. So that way I wasn't trying to rush, I had all my grades done. However, students were coming in, and I think because I got hit with the students that were coming in through tutoring because they took advantage of their re-quiz opportunity or they wanted tutoring for a test. But then I was also getting hit with students that were coming in, they were asking for makeup work and extra credit, or in some cases their coach or sponsor or director was sending them to me because what I had done on Monday was, at the beginning of school, I sent an email out to any of my students that were in extracurricular activities. I sent an email to their coach or sponsor. And I was like, hey, we have a test at the end of the week. Can you please let such and such know, to remind them, like if they need help, they can come see me before school, after school, and during lunch. They don't get a chance for a retest or test corrections because I allow multiple retakes of a quiz. So they have 1 week to do that. Anytime I hand a quiz back or we grade it in class, they have 1 week from that date to come and get tutoring and make it up for full credit. And I don't do retest policies, or correct, I don't know why I keep saying policies, retest opportunities, because I allow multiple attempts at a quiz for full credit. And the reason I do this is because I want a student to be successful, so that way when they take the test, it is aligned to the quiz. So if they do well on a quiz, they will do well on the test. And so I had students coming who missed the deadline, and they were coming to me a couple days after the deadline, hey, can I take the quiz? And I'm thinking, and I didn't say this to them, like, you had all this time. Like, no, you can't, the deadline has passed. And I just simply said, no, the deadline has passed. But I started getting frustrated again, like I said earlier, when everyone was gone and I'm just sitting here, like venting in my head and trying to relax and calm down. Like, am I not communicating clearly enough that, these students are coming in and they have no idea what the policy is. And one of the other issues was that some of the coaches that I had sent, not all of them, but some of them had sent the athletes to me, and the athletes were like, yeah, my coach needs a letter saying, this is what I'm missing, or that I'm good to go. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I having to do more work now? Like, why do I have to compose a letter when I felt like I was proactive, emailing, sending this email out, letting students know, we do checks in class, nothing like this, and this is why I am doing this for a second 6 weeks. So I just told the students, like, you write the letter and I will sign off on it. Like, I'll pull up the gradebook right now and we'll go and take a look at what you got a low score on or what you're missing, and you can write this stuff down. But I'm not like writing a letter, I'm not doing all this extra work because you decided to wait until the last minute after every class period have said over and over again, the opportunities that you have to take advantage of requizzing or making up work. So I just was a little bit frustrated with that, but then I found a moment to kind of stop and recollect myself and said, okay, game plan on, what is it that I need to do to perhaps help those students who are struggling with understanding some of the policies in my classroom? What is it that I can do to perhaps get the message across? And so this is one way. We only have to give 2 grades per week. I don't know if you can see it, but it has like the week here, week 1 through, I put 7 because we're really gonna start this next week. And it has, for each week, it has 2 rows because it's gonna be the 2 grades per week, the activity, the original grade, it says retry available if yes, when, and then teacher signature. The teacher signature basically is if they are a coach, a director, a sponsor, any type of person in charge of an extracurricular activity. If they're not in some type of extracurricular activity, then it says they're a live teacher, which if this is your first time on my channel, then it's basically our advisory program, which we meet advisory every day for 25 minutes a day. So they're advisory teachers, since we're supposed to be having academic conversations with students. They can talk to the student, they can pull up their grades, and they can say, hey, this is what your teacher, Mr. Lice, put in the grade book. This is what your original grade was. Either you're failing, you're passing, you're missing it, and if there's a retry available or not, and they can sign off on that. But I might just need to do some type of activity so that way I know that every single one of my students knows what the policy is for taking a requiz, what the policy is for testing. Do I allow retest? What the policy is for, you know, whatever it is that I'm doing, but just making sure that they understand it, because I don't want to be in this position where students are coming, a whole bunch of students are coming in to see me and they're asking me, hey, I need makeup work, I need extra credit. Can I turn this in when it was due 5 weeks ago? I don't want to be having those conversations. I want to make sure that students are keeping up with their grades and they're seeing me and they're advocating for themselves early on. I understand being kids, so I do take that into consideration. I'm not going to put a 0 in the grade book because I want the students to do the work. I want to hold them accountable for that. I know some teachers necessarily don't agree with that. They'll put a 0 because they feel that it's teaching them responsibility, but I'm still holding the students accountable and making sure that they do their work, because it's easy for me to put a 0 in the grade book, but it's like, no, you're going to do this assignment and you're going to take care of it. But I want to make sure, if that is what my philosophy is, that I am making sure that students are taking care of that in a timely manner and they're not waiting into the end of the 6-week training period. One of the things that I am going to do is I'm going to start assigning Saturday school or detention for them to do that. I haven't assigned after school detention, but I think I need to start doing that, and or Saturday school, just to let some of these students know that, no, I need the work. You know, I'm not going to wait 3 weeks for you to turn an assignment in. Like, you have a week to get that stuff in, and if you don't turn it in on the due date, then this is what I'm going to assign you. So we'll see. I'm still playing around in my head about what I'm going to do, but I just was, after they left at the end of the day, I'm just like sitting here, I was drained, I was frustrated. I'm like, I can't continue to stay here until 7:30, get here early in the morning, because I was starting to feel it. And like, it's not even October yet, and I don't want to feel burned out. Like, I still want to feel good in the morning and pumped up, and I still have energy, but I already started feeling it coming on, and I'm like, I can't continue to sustain myself if I continue to do this. So that's my plan for right now. We'll see if it works. The end of the grading period is next week, and I'm trying to be proactive so that way students are not doing what they did this week. Well, that's it. If you're interested in checking out similar video clips, you can do so by clicking on any of the links right here. If there was anything about this particular video that you liked, then make sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and or share the video. And if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe by clicking on the link right here, so that way you can bond with James. As always, thanks for watching.